Pete, a obviously disappointing night here in Worcester. A tight one in the end, and I suppose that result must have hurt. What did you say to the lads in the dressing room after that one?
Oh, it was a tough one. Some losses seemed to hurt a bit more. That one felt quite painful, I think, in some ways, because I think we probably got enough runs. It was a really tough pitch. I think it's the fourth time it's been used, very hard. And though 140 doesn't sound like enough, I think on that pitch it probably was actually, if we'd bowled really well and fielded well, and we didn't bowl as well. It doesn't mean people didn't bowl well in the side, but collectively we didn't get pressure on them enough. We took some wickets and they got away. So, we had to get the little things right, and we didn't get all those little things right tonight, and you've got to take that on the chin.
You say the little things. Where do you think the defeat mainly lies? The low score, with the bats. Do you think that was mainly the reason, or do you think it was more of a collective of things, like those finer details you're talking about?
I think the score with the bat was probably around about par actually. It was a very tough pitch to bat on, because well used hybrid pitch. So I think both sides probably knew that, spun and bounced. So it wasn't an easy pitch to bat on, and I think we got away a little bit at the end. We got, I think, 35 of the last 4, which got us a competitive score. And at one point, we didn't look like we were going to get that. So credit to us to get in there. It doesn't mean it was easy to defend. It wasn't. We had to bowl well and field well, and we got some early wickets. I thought Steve Mullaney bowled really well. It was a pitch where you wanted to try and keep the stumps in the game as much as you could, and they got too many boundaries, if I'm honest. And everybody's working very hard to try and stop that. And there's fine margins in this game, and we know that. So we take it on the chin. Worcester are a good side. They played some really good cricket, I think, this year, certainly at home. And as I say, we take it for what it is. And we've got a championship game now coming up, and we've still got 2 games at Trent Bridge, which will really put qualification in our own hands.
Like you said, there was that part of the game where there was a flurry of wickets, and did you feel at that point that maybe the tide was turning? You could sense it in the crowd as well. There was tension in the air. Maybe it wasn't going to go the way that the crowd initially thought it was going to go. At that point, did you think that maybe things were turning in our favour?
Oh, we're always in the game. 80 for 5, we had a great chance in the game, but we needed something. And credit to Pollock, I thought he played really well. Hose played well, and he played some really good shots. So, you've got to give them a lot of credit. At 80 for 5, we got another one then, we'd have had a great chance of winning that game. So it was tight. It's always tighter than it looks on paper. But when a game goes down to the last over, it's a tight game. There's not much in it. I think they got ahead of the rate. They just got ahead of the rate, came out of power play a little bit ahead of the rate, and that helped them just keep the pressure off themselves a little bit. Somewhere in that middle, I think Calvin got Cox out first ball. You felt like we'd got some momentum. And then they really built another partnership. So I give them the credit for it. As I say, we take it on the chin, we move on. Got a big championship game coming up, so those involved in that have got a couple of days really to get themselves sorted. And then we'll come back next week with 2 games left in this sort of league phase. And they're 2 really big games, because those games will dictate whether we go into the knockout stages.
A professional T20 debut for Hasib Hamid, a handy 18 off 17 balls. How did you think he did out there today?
I thought he played really well, actually. He did exactly what we played him for, really, to play him in the middle overs. Shame that Samit missed out. First game Samit's missed since 2011, or 12 or whatever. Such a long time. Been such a brilliant servant for the club. And he's picked up a niggles, so he has to miss that game. So Haas came in to play a very similar role, really, the ability to sort of build a partnership in the middle overs, which he did. And he was a bit unlucky, actually. He attacked the boundary straight, just got it a little bit too straight, but, I thought he played beautifully. And it's been a tough side for him to get into our T20 side, but he's a good player. I think he showed that tonight.
And like you said, 2 home games left in the league phase of this tournament. What do you think is required out of those 2 games to see us through to those knockout stages?
Well, you just got to try and win. You don't go any further. We've got Birmingham next at our own ground, so we'll set that game up. We'll go hard at that to win the game. I don't think anything changes in here. You've got to play every game nearly like it's a final. The North Division's a very competitive league. And we've seen all sides beat other sides all the way through, really. And I think that there's been no easy games. And that's testament to the Vitality Blast as a competition, I think. It's got some good players in it, some good competitive teams. And I expect for the qualification, it'll go down to the wire like it always does. We'll be looking to win that next one. And maybe, 8 wins often is enough to get into the quarter, but we won't know until we actually get to the end of that qualification period.
Obviously, a word on Colin Munro, missed out today, waiting results on a scan on his hamstring. Did it feel like he was missed today in that side?
Well, you're always going to miss someone like Colin, as you'd miss Samit Patel. You're missing experience, and that doesn't mean that the lads coming in aren't going to be match winners in the game. So we're lucky. We've got a good squad, and it felt a very exciting day actually. Lyndon getting a chance at 3, Haas getting a chance at 5. But of course, you're going to miss the quality of someone like Colin Munro at 3. He's had a great season for us. Really good player, lots of experience. But that's sport. We've had a really tough run on injuries actually. We've probably had 4 or 5 years where it felt like we haven't picked up much at all, and this year we seem to have picked up lots of little niggles all the way through. And Ku, our physio's had his work cut out, that's for sure. So he'll be working very hard to get him back on the park as soon as we can. We need those scans really to know how bad that is. I think for Colin and for Samit, once those scans come back in, we'll reassess and see, what involvement they can have in these next 2 games, if any.
Pete, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Ollie.